Good morning. This is Eric Seymour with the National Weather Service in Wakefield. I'm going to do the weather briefing for today. Hope everybody's doing well. Going to start off with kind of a bigger picture view weather-wise across the country. And what I wanted to really emphasize here is notice the big heat dome is out to the west right now, centered across more of the central U.S. The red areas are the areas of excessive heat warnings, and then you have the heat advisories in the orange shade. So you can see that the heat is kind of pushed back a little bit to the west and to the south of us right now. The other thing to note on here is noting the areas in green up to the north from kind of from Iowa down into West Virginia. Those are flood watches. And so what we kind of have is a frontal boundary that's kind of sitting in between those two areas, the areas of heat and then the area where we think the rainfall is going to be. So just north of that frontal boundary is where we're anticipating activity is going to develop and move down. And the question for us then is going to be how much of that activity makes it across the mountains. And really we'd be looking at Friday, tomorrow for that activity to see how much it gets through. So still a lot of uncertainty there, and that'll be something that we will be kind of looking and monitoring over the next 24 to 36 hours and see if there's any activity that can get into the region. The other thing I did want to note, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here into the mid-Atlantic. Notice that from the blue numbers, which are dew points, that those dew points are down into the mid 60s, mid to upper 60s. And for this time of the year, that's a little bit of a break from the normal, lower to mid 70 values that we've seen a lot this summer. So we do have a little bit of drier air in place, not quite as humid as it's been. So we'll take that little bit of a break. The bigger heat along the East Coast is more centered into the Carolinas. So right now, that's kind of how things look. And that's going to be the question is how much moisture comes back in here during the day tomorrow. So when we look at this current satellite image, the current satellite image really kind of helps show that big ridge that's in the central part of the country with the heat dome. And then you can kind of see with the cloud cover to the north, just along that frontal boundary, kind of how this is going to set up for the next couple of days. And again, the question is going to be how much of this activity that does form across the upper Midwest, tracks through the Ohio Valley, how much of that can make it across the mountains. So did want to look a little bit of the model data for the next couple of days or so. And so this is the kind of radar depiction of the model at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. So you can see there's a lot of activity, Iowa, across Illinois into Indiana, right where that flood watch is in place. Seeing some activity making it into West Virginia at that point. Again, the question is going to be how much of that activity can make it across the mountains and what kind of strength does it have when it does that. So, and right now there's a lot of uncertainty. Some of the models are depicting activity a little bit farther to the north. And then there are other models that are showing more activity kind of coming through more central and southern Virginia and into eastern North Carolina. So that'll be what we're watching for over the next couple of days to see what kind of rainfall activity we could get from that. I know we had a really good severe event on Monday. Some folks are still recovering from that. So, hopefully, any rain we get will just be more welcome rainfall as opposed to any kind of wind. So I'm going to go ahead and pop into the slideshow. And start here with the convective activity. So you can see there is a marginal risk for some severe weather. And again, if we do get anything here, it's going to be local. It'll be wind gusts again, hopefully just kind of localized activity. The models, again, struggling to depict where the activity may end up at this point. Generally speaking, usually you're kind of in that northwest flow. Usually it kind of tracks right along the boundary, and the boundary really ends up sitting right along the Virginia, North Carolina border. So this seems to be kind of a reasonable location where we could see some activity tomorrow. Again, a little bit more isolated at this point is our thinking, but again, we'll have to watch that as these northwest flow scenarios can be very tricky to forecast. So when we look at the excessive rainfall outlook, again, we saw the flood watches upstream across the Ohio Valley. again, some of that activity, and if we do get it to train where you get some cells moving over the same area repeatedly, again, it could push some of the values up, and we could see some potential for some localized flash flooding. So for tonight, really not much expected today overall. A little bit, again, we're a little bit drier than normal. But again, with the heating of the day, is it possible we could see a couple cells pop up? Absolutely. We're in August. That's certainly possible. So wouldn't be surprised to see a few cells pop up this afternoon. But again, when we're looking at the chances of rain, we're talking 20-25% max, and really mainly targeting a lot in the southeast, where there's a little bit better moisture supply. We look to today, tomorrow, a little bit more widespread. Pretty much everywhere in the area could see rainfall tomorrow. Generally speaking, overall, average-wise, you're looking quarter to a half inch. But again, we're dealing with convective activity, so you're going to see some locally heavy rainfall probably within some of those cells. So there could be some areas that push up to an inch, maybe a little bit more. But again, they're going to be fairly localized. And at this point, trying to pinpoint where those locations would be, pretty difficult to do at this point. Again, when you're looking at the chances of rainfall tomorrow, again, we're talking 40-50% chances of rainfall. So a little bit better than today, a little bit more widespread. But the exact locations at this point, some places will get some, and some places, may miss out. And then Saturday looks to be fairly dry. Again, maybe an isolated shower in the far southern parts of the CWA down in North Carolina, maybe right along the Virginia-North Carolina border where that frontal boundary is kind of hanging out, but it's trying to get pushed southward. There's a big area of high pressure that drops into New England on Saturday, and that should be enough to push the front far enough south that most of the activity, as far from a rainfall perspective, is south of the area. So overall, QPF wise, again, really you're looking at, quarter to a half inch, maybe a little bit more. But again, where is that activity going to set up on Friday? That's the big question mark. That's what we'll be watching for. And hopefully we get, two tomorrow, later today with the updated models, and tomorrow when we can actually start seeing exactly where these pieces of energy that are coming in this northwest flow are going to be tracking, give us a little bit better confidence on where the activity may line up. And then the next chance of rain really is Sunday into Monday as we get a cold front that's approaching. So we get back into a little bit of the higher heat, higher humidity Sunday and into Monday, especially on Monday. Monday could be a fairly warm day. And then the northwest flow at the front coming in could set up an opportunity for some more showers and storms. So when we look at the excessive heat over the next few days, Monday seems to be the day with the best chance. And again, this is where part of that heat dome kind of breaks off, pushes eastward, and pops in the area before we get a cold front that comes through Monday night. So by the time we get to Tuesday, Wednesday next week, things do look like they kind of return to more seasonable August-type temperatures, with temperatures in the upper 80s, low 90s for the middle of next week. So that's kind of where we're thinking at the moment. Again, Monday we'll be watching. We could be close to the point we may have to issue some heat advisories. That'll be something we'll be monitoring over the next couple of days. So looking at temperatures the next couple of days, fairly warm today, getting up in the low 90s. A little bit cooler tomorrow, but we'll again have to watch this. Some of this is going to depend on how much cloud cover we have coming across with that northwest flow. But again, we'll be seeing what the humidity levels look like as well. So even though we're a little bit cooler temperature-wise, heat index values are actually a little bit higher tomorrow. And again, that's a little bit of that moisture trying to surge back in here. So we start seeing those dew points getting back up into the lower 70s. And then on Saturday, cooler and actually less humid. So definitely more comfortable on the day Saturday. Looking beyond, we get out to kind of that 6 to 10 day period. So getting us out into, next week, that heat dome does move a little bit to the southeast. So we get a little bit of a bump up in temperatures across a good part of the eastern U.S. And then with chances of rainfall, generally near normal. But again, we're still in that northwest flow pattern. So once we get past, Wednesday, we'll start to see a little bit better chance of rainfall again. So that's kind of how that's looking. Drought monitor, we have seen quite a bit of improvement over the last couple of weeks. Several pretty significant rainfall events. So now really about 70% of the area is not in a drought designation. Drought designation being D1 or higher. So still have a good part of the area that's abnormally dry. So that would be, generally speaking, about 50-55% of the area is still abnormally dry, but much better than what we've been over the last 3 to 4 months. So we're definitely seeing some improvement there, and hopefully we'll get enough rainfall the next couple of next week or so just to kind of make sure that we don't start to go backwards at this point. Also wanted to look at the tropical weather. We do have some disturbances out in the Atlantic. We had Cristobal form. It's back, it briefly went to tropical storm status. It's now a depression and looks like it's going to weaken. And then there's a couple of waves in the southern part of the tropics that we're watching, and actually wanted to show you some satellite to go with that. You can see these two waves that are down here. Cristobal is right there at the very top of the screen. So got a nice circulation to it, but has really no convection with it, which is why I really haven't seen it develop a whole lot. And it's expecting as it enters cooler water to kind of dissipate later today. And then we're watching one swirl right here. This is the one that's in red. That's an 80% chance of development going on. So that swirl right there is expected to make its way into the Eastern Caribbean as we get later into the weekend. And then there's another wave that's right here that's spinning and rotating just to the west of it. And the models actually try to take that one and lift it more north of the Leeward Islands. We'll have to watch to see what development occurs with these, if any. Right now, the biggest factor when you look at it, I want you to look at the convection that's across the Caribbean right now. You can see the low level flow is heading off to the east pretty quickly, but the upper level winds are shearing the tops of the thunderstorms off. This is a pretty hostile area right now for any kind of development, and this goes along with the El Nino that's developing. We're seeing strong westerly winds through the tropical basin. So any of these waves that do try to develop, and this, you can see this first one's got some pretty good rotation to it already, and already has some outflow on the north side, which normally would be a pretty good indicator we got a system that's going to develop. But this westerly winds through here really are causing havoc. So models really kind of bring this in and then kind of weaken it, and it really struggles to go. So we'll have to watch that to see if there's any development that does occur. I'm going to take a real quick look at the Hurricane Center page. Cristobal at the 11 o'clock advisory has been dropped. And then at this moment, they have not done anything more with these two waves. They're still watching them. So that's kind of your tropical update for today at this point in time. So that's everything I have for you guys today. We'll be, at this point, I don't think we'll be doing any live briefings again until Monday. So everybody have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you guys again on Monday.